O-Level Biology 5090, Chapter 9, Human Gas Exchange. First of all, students, we will discuss the features of gas exchange surfaces. The features are have a large surface area relative to the volume of the organism. So if there is large surface area, so more gas exchange will take place. They are thin, so have a short diffusion pathway. So the surfaces are only one cell thick, due to which the gases has to cover a short distance. So it will be very easy. They have a moist surface where gases can dissolve first before they diffuse in and out. So if the moist surface is there, so gases will dissolve into that water, then they will diffuse from one side to the other, that is from higher concentration towards the lower concentration. They are able to maintain the diffusion gradient. So as I had told you, that diffusion is movement from the higher concentration towards lower concentration. If the concentration gradient is high, then gases can move very fastly. So in this way, these features play a very role in gas exchange system. Next, we will discuss or compare the composition of inspired and expired air. When we inhale air, many gases enter into our body, and the most uh, important gas, which is highest in concentration or in percentage, that is nitrogen gas, which is 79% present in the air, and oxygen is 21%, and carbon dioxide is 0.04%, and water vapors are variable, that is if air is dry, then the water vapors will be less in quantity. If moist air is outside, then or humid air is there, then the water vapor will be in higher concentration. So when we expire the air, then the percentage of nitrogen remains the same, that is 79%. There is no use of this gas in the body. Oxygen is used up in the body for respiration. So only 16% of oxygen is present in the expired air. Carbon dioxide, which was in 0.04%, it is increased to 4% because it is harmful gas which is produced as a result of respiration. So it should not be present in the body. It should be excreted out. So all amount of carbon dioxide is excreted out, and water vapors will be saturated. That is, there will be higher concentration of water. Next, we will discuss the human gas exchange system and different parts of gas exchange system. You know, the air external nostrils. Air enters through external nostrils, then internal nostrils, and then air enter into mouth, and from mouth to pharynx, larynx, and then enters into the trachea. Trachea is made up of cartilage, which is C-shaped, and trachea is divided into two bronchus. It is divided into two bronchus, and bronchus is further divided into many fine branches, which are called as bronchioles. Also, a network of bronchioles is present in each lung, and bronchioles, at the end of each bronchiole, a balloon-shaped alveolus is present. And for human gas exchange system or to exchange the gases, ribs are there which protect the lungs. External intercostal muscles, internal costal muscle. External intercostal muscles are present on outer side of the ribs and internal intercostal muscles are present inside the ribs. A thin membrane is present at the base of the respiratory system. So this thin surface is called as diaphragm, which helps in exchange of gases. Now we will move towards the next slide, in which I have shown the intercostal muscles, and you can see their location. You can see this is the chest bone, which is called as sternum, and ribs are joined with this chest bone on both sides, and the external intercostal muscles which are present on the outer surface of the ribs. You can say they are the external intercostal muscles, whereas the internal intercostal muscles are which are present internal side of the ribs. You can see a magnified small part of the intercostal muscles. These muscles in this direction, they are external intercostal muscles, and inner internal intercostal muscles are of this shape. So they play a very great role when we inhale or exhale. In the next slide, we will discuss the structure and function of different parts of the respiratory tract. First of all, the epiglottis, which is small flap of the cartilage, and it prevents the food entering the trachea. So when we are eating the food, at that time, this epiglottis covers the glottis, and in this way, the food particles are not entered into the respiratory tract. Trachea, tube which carries air, covered in hair, cilia, ciliated cells, mucus, all they are present, surrounded by C-shaped cartilage rings. C-shaped cartilage means when there is high pressure of the air in the trachea, it will not burst if it is C-shaped. Also known as the windpipe, it is also passage for oxygen to travel through. So trachea is the passage through which the air passed in. And bronchus cartilage, you know, the trachea is divided into two bronchus, which is also cartilage and smooth muscles. The bronchus is made up of cartilage and smooth muscles and splits trachea into two tubes to allow oxygen in right and left lungs, because two lungs are there. So in this way, the air can enter in both lungs, and then bronchioles, further division of bronchus into the very fine branches, and those branches are called as bronchioles. And at the end of each bronchiole, alveolus is present. Allow oxygen to filter into alveoli, and then alveoli, air sacs, balloon-shaped air sacs, they have very thin surfaces, and this is the site where exchange of gases takes place. Diaphragm muscle, that thin that sits underneath lungs, attached to the ribs and sternum base of thoracic cavity, separates the thoracic region with the lumbar region. Enables thoracic cavity to be increased and decreased. It contracts and relaxes when we breathe in or breathe out, and intercostal muscles, you know, help in the movement of ribs. The muscles that sit between the ribs and internal and external increased or decreased. Enable the thoracic cavity to be increased or decreased means in this way they help in breathing in or breathe out. And the next slide, we will discuss the process of inhalation. When we inhale, the air enters through the external nostrils, then into internal nostrils, and then external to internal, internal to mouth, and from mouth to trachea, trachea to bronchus, bronchus to bronchioles, and from bronchioles to alveoli. So when it happens, when air enters into the respiratory tract, then what happens with the intercostal muscles? At that time, the external intercostal muscles will relax. They will relax, intercostal muscles are a set of muscles in which two sets of muscles, which one set contract at the same time the other set of muscles relax. So when we inhale, the internal intercostal muscles will relax and external intercostal muscles will contract. They are called as antagonistic muscles. So rib cage move upward and outward to give more space for air. Diaphragm contracts and flattens. So in this way, there will be more, you can say, space for air. Volume of the thoracic cavity increase. When diaphragm contracts at that time, the volume of the thoracic cavity is increased and pressure in alveoli decrease. And pressure in alveoli decrease, it means now air will enter into the alveoli. If pressure is decreasing, pressure moves from high pressure towards the lower pressure. So in this way, when pressure in alveoli is decreasing, it means air will enter into the alveoli. So air moves in. So in this way, the air enters into our breathing system. And this is called as inhalation, in which the different parts of the respiratory system play a vital role. And in the next slide, we will discuss when we exhale out the air, the process of exhalation, and how do the different parts are involved. And the alveoli, now it will be the opposite. Now air will move from alveoli towards the bronchioles, and then bronchioles to bronchus, and from bronchus to trachea, trachea to mouth, and from mouth to nostrils. So in this way, the exhaled air will follow this pathway. So here you can see what happens with the internal intercostal muscles. In inhalation, they were relaxing, but here the internal intercostal muscles will contract. And if they are contracting, it means the external intercostal muscles will relax. So the rib cage will move downward and inward, because when rib cage will move downward and inward, it means it will push the air out of the lungs. So diaphragm will relax. Due to when it relax, it will take a dome shape. So due to its shape, the volume of the thoracic cavity will decrease. If the volume of the thoracic cavity is decreased, it means less air can remain inside. So air will will be pushed out. So pressure in alveoli increases. It means when pressure is increased, so the pressure has to move towards that side where there is low pressure. So air moves out of the nostrils or out of the body. So in this way, the inhalation or exhalation of the gases takes place. When we inhale, we take in oxygen, and when we exhale, we take out the carbon dioxide. So in this way, we can say that exchange of gases takes place. And in the next stage, we will discuss the gaseous exchange. The gas or which was entered into the air from the air into the gas exchange system, and the air which is leaving the gas exchange system and going into the air. We had discussed the features of gas exchange surfaces. Here you can see we have magnified an alveoli with the capillary, and you know the capillary is also one cell thick and alveoli is also one cell thick, and inner lining of the alveoli is moist, is kept moist, and then capillary, alveolar, respiratory membrane, you can say. Now what will happen? That is, you can say the red color is showing the entrance of the oxygen. This is the oxygen. Oxygen, how oxygen? That is from external nostrils to internal nostrils, then mouth, from mouth to pharynx, pharynx to trachea, trachea to bronchus, bronchus to bronchioles and alveoli. Now, here you can see the air has reached into the alveoli, which has higher concentration of oxygen. Oxygen is in higher concentration, and you can see the blood is entering, or it is coming from pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery has deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated blood. So deoxygenated blood is entering into this capillary. So it will move in this direction. So in this way. So deoxygenated blood means it has higher concentration of carbon dioxide. It has high concentration of carbon dioxide, and the air which we are inhaling has higher concentration of oxygen. So in this way, you know, students, that gases move from their higher concentration towards the lower concentration. So here the diffusion of gases will take place from the higher concentration towards the lower concentration. That is, oxygen which is entering into the alveolus is in higher concentration. It will dissolve into the thin lining of moisture, and then it will enter into the capillary, because in capillary the concentration of oxygen is low. So oxygen will diffuse into the capillary, and whereas carbon dioxide, which is in higher concentration, into the capillary, so it will move from its high concentration towards the lower concentration, which is in the alveolus. So carbon dioxide will move from capillary to the alveoli, and from alveoli, that air which contains carbon dioxide will move out of the body by following the same pathway, that is from alveolus to bronchioles to bronchus to bronchus to trachea, trachea to pharynx, pharynx to mouth, mouth through internal nostrils to external nostrils. Same pathway, but in opposite direction. Air was coming in, which was full of oxygen. Now the air is going out, which has higher concentration of carbon dioxide. So in this way, in the alveolus, the exchange of gases takes place due to the concentration difference. Due to the concentration gradient of these gases, the gases has moved from their higher concentration towards the lower concentration. That is, the oxygen was coming from outside by the process of inhalation. It enters into the bloodstream, whereas the capillary has higher concentration of carbon dioxide, so it will leave. So it will leave the capillary and enter into the alveolus, and thus in this way it will follow the same pathway and move out of the body. So in this way, the exchange of gases takes place in the gas exchange surface. Now, when we gas exchange, the ciliated cells are present inside the inner lining of the respiratory tract. If we see their structure, you can see cilia. These are the hair-like projections which are present on the ciliated cells. So they are called as ciliated cells. And ciliated cells have nucleus, they have cytoplasm, and they have basal granule, and they have replacement cell and basement membrane. So goblet cells are also there, and goblet cells produce mucin, which is an important component of this mucus. So you can see the mucus. So these are the ciliated cells which help in removing the unwanted materials, as for example microorganisms, dust particles, and irritants. An important feature of the respiratory system is mucus producing cells and ciliated cells, already shown you in the previous slide. Goblet cells, they produce the main component of the mucus, mucin, that is mucin, which is produced by these goblet cells. As air flows through nasal cavity, hair and mucus traps particles. So these hair which are present in our nostrils and throughout the respiratory tract, so they help in removing the dust particles and microorganisms, and the mucus, and uh, wrap up all these materials is swept back by hair to the pharynx and swallowed. Sometimes the mucus is swept back by the hair into our throat, and we swallow it. So this is the importance of all these. Now, first of all, we discuss the goblet cells, and they are the specialized types of epithelial cells that secrete mucin. Mucin is important, the component of mucus, and mucus, they play a very important role in capturing the uh, microorganisms and dust particles, often found in the respiratory and gastrointestinal tracts, where they make up part of the surface epithelium. So they are present on the surface epithelium. So the goblet cells, in the next slide, we will discuss the structure of the goblet cells. You can see the goblet cell. It has a nucleus, proper nucleus, and microvilli are present on its surface. Golgi apparatus is also there. Secretory vesicles, which mucus. So mucus is there, rough endoplasmic reticulum for the transportation of mucin, and mitochondria is to get energy. So the goblet cell has different parts. You can say the nucleus is only on one side because this surface is for the storage of mucin. Now, mucus glands are present in the respiratory tract, which produce mucus, and mucus is a thin, clear liquid consisting of water Composition of mucus is water, salts, and protective immune cells are also there. So it lines many parts of the body, including the mouth, sinuses, eyes, stomach, and even the intestine. It also produced in the lungs and in the lower respiratory tract. We often refer to this type of mucus as a Belgium or sputum. Okay, so in this way, mucus ciliated cells, including goblet cells, play a very vital role in capturing the microorganisms, the dust particles, or different other materials which want to enter our respiratory tract. All they are captured by these mucus and ciliated cells. So it was all about the gas exchange system. Thanks for watching my video. Please like and subscribe my channel. Thank you so much.